April 2006, Cory is attempting to qualify for the Top Fuel field in Bristol, Tennessee. The run starts smoothly, but what happens next defies description. It'll go down as one of the most amazing and frightening crashes in NHRA history.
Even the starting line, it was like any other run. I mean, in the middle of the track, it was pulling good and hard, and just about three-quarter track. I mean, things happen so quickly in these Top Fuel cars. I mean, my Framboos car went from seeing directly at the finish line and being in what I call the comfort zone of being ready to hit the chutes at the end to being completely inverted, looking straight down and seeing the sparks. And at that point in time, you know you're in trouble. You just don't know how much trouble you're in. It spun around so quick on me, I had no idea where I was on the racetrack, other than be able to see the white wall and seeing the blacktop, and the couple hits that it took, especially the one to the back, definitely got my attention. I hit that wall and it was thinking, okay, it's going to stop here. Swung back around into the fire again, but knowing that I had all the safety stuff on, knowing that it was coming to a stop, my hand was on the belts, you know, ready to stop and get out of the car. But when it's happening, that first hit happens so quickly. But after that, it's all that scraping and knowing, you know, you're seeing the fire and being involved in it. Things slow down, and you're waiting for that last stop, just waiting for it to happen. Hopefully not to hit the driver next to you, not knowing exactly which wall I was against. You know, all I could see was blacktop and white wall, blacktop and white wall. So you don't know exactly where you are, but it seems like an eternity for waiting for the car to stop.
Cory in Friday night qualifying literally cut the car in half. They've brought a new car in, they've got it assembled, and he's going to run.
It's the only thing I've ever done. It's my passion. It's something I love very much. So the sooner the better for me to get back on the horse, basically, and get back in that race car and go out and do my job.
Cory crash wasn't the first of its kind in Top Fuel. In the last few years, we've seen some remarkably similar incidents, all involving chassis that seem to just break in half. How does it happen? 22-time national event winner and ESPN analyst Mike Dunn shows us.
Well, over the years, we've seen some pretty catastrophic chassis failures on the Top Fuel dragsters. Well, to understand how that happens, first I think you have to understand how a Top Fuel dragster works. Basically, it's a 300-inch wheelbase race car with a front wing and a rear wing. The front wing will create about 1,600 to 1,800 pounds downforce at speed. The main purpose of that is to keep the front wheels on the ground so the driver can steer. Then you go back to the rear wing of the race car. It creates about 7,000 pounds of downforce, and the purpose of that is obviously to keep those rear tires planted to allow the maximum amount of traction. Now, the Top Fuel chassis is basically in three parts. You have the driver cockpit area, also known as the footbox, where the driver sits. Obviously, you see a lot of tubing here for safety reasons to keep the driver safe in the event of a crash. Very strong area. Then you have the front half of the chassis. You can see much less tubing, a little bit thinner tubing. That allows the chassis to be able to get the flex that it needs to be able to accelerate down the track. You have the back half of the chassis where basically you have the engine and the drivetrain connected to the driver compartment. Now, what happens when these engines are making 8,000 horsepower and the amount of torque that they make, they're trying to pretty much rotate the rear end around, especially with all that wing downforce. When that happens, it puts a lot of stress on the chassis where it connects to the drive area, mainly on that bottom tube and the top tube, and you can see failure from all that stress on these chassis. And of course, the NHRA is always looking to improve the safety of these cars. In the area of the tubing, there's a couple of things they're looking at. Heat treating the tubing to make the tubing stronger, also the diameter of the tubing, and the thickness of the tubing, the wall thickness. And of course, as with everything on these race cars, it's an ever-evolving process.